Fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren. Got Mr. Joe, Smoking Joe with the
frozen smoker. I had two smokers going, one grill going, we turkeys and briskets, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
Felt like an industrial kitchen in it.
Yeah.
Now it's all covered up with 13 inches of snow. So.
Wow. Big festivities then? You had a lot of people over?
We had 13 people.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad. Regular sized turkey, big biscuit, birdies, cheesecakes, the whole deal.
Wow, cheesecake.
Everything was on the grills. It's kind of fun.
Oh, good.
One of my son-in-laws is a cook. He does a lot of that stuff too.
Good. Glad there's somebody there that does.
That keeps you from burning things down.
Yeah, keep you from burning things. Mike Hawley had 36 people. 36?
I
know. It's like, give me heart failure. You know?
That's almost as many books as Tracy's written.
I think so. The author we have with us today, and her new book is called Edge. It's Detective Harriet Foster, and it's book 4 of the series. Tracy Clark, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, Tracy, the big question, what do you do on Thanksgiving?
Well, just the traditional stuff, right? We had maybe about half a dozen people, and we had the usual stuff, turkey and macaroni and cheese and all that crap. And I get tossed out of the kitchen, about 11:30. My services were no longer required. The smoke alarm went off, and so, whatever. And so that's my usual Thanksgiving. I usually get tossed out of the kitchen around 11:30. That's about the time the parade starts to sort of wind down. And so I just go find something to read and then, catch them again when dinner is ready.
That sounds like Joe's.
I gotta use that strategy too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to it now.
Well, Joe would set the smoke detector off, but he does it outside. And
then
he just burns the house.
I set the smoke detector off and I burnt the house down.
Some people are good in the kitchen, some people are not. You just have to accept who you are and just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter if you burn down the house every year.
No.
Well, there's actually let's not get off on the psychological. I've had a job where I didn't really build anything. I didn't create anything all my life. Except PowerPoint presentations and speeches. And so to cook is like to write. You start with nothing, and when you're done, you got something, right? There it is. And that's satisfying in life, right?
Yeah, but it has to be edible. It didn't have to be edible. It can be finished. It can be finished all the livelong day, but people have to be able to eat it. So
different story. I didn't talk about quality control. It's the same for books, right?
You got to keep that in there.
People want to read your books. It has to be edible to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe's got the speed dial on the local restaurant so you can go do takeout.
There you go.
Choose no good Chinese. That's all I know.
Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. So listen, you got another book out. What's Edge about? Let's give a basic, description of what goes on in the book.
Well, Edge is about, it's my usual cast of characters, my detective Harriet Foster and her homicide team working the streets of Chicago. And in this case, there's a tainted drug on the streets. It's called Edge, and bodies are dropping right and left, and they can't figure out what the source is, where it's coming from, who's producing it, why. And so that's their case. But the title also has sort of a ping on Harriet's personal journey, too. She's sort of on the edge of where she was and on where she can be, and she's sort of at a crossroads. So it has sort of a different meaning, a double meaning, but that's what it's about. Tainted drug, the body's dropping, trying to solve this case, trying to get her better, and then the case goes on. So that's what Edge is in a nutshell.
You primarily focus on the your character, right? Of course. Now, how do you balance? You said she's got issues. She's got things going on, and then you've also got the drug, and you got the police and stuff. So, how do you balance that out in the story? How much do you give to each?
I just sort of feel it. I'm not one of those really organized writers like some people are. I don't have an outline. I'm a pantser, so I sort of just go. And so I just sort of put her in a room, or put her in a situation, and also the other cops too. It's not just Harriet. I put them in a situation, and then I see what they do to get out of it. Harriet has a lot of weight when the series begins. When we meet her at Hyde, she's not in a really good spot. And so my job through the series has been to sort of get her in a position where she's a little bit further along. She gets sort of back into the world that she sort of rejected. But still, she's, this brilliant investigator. She does her job perfectly. It's just the personal part that she hasn't a grip on. So getting her through that series, all those 4 books, furthering along, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, that sort of has been my challenge. And hopefully the part that's interesting for the reader too, because they want to sort of see whether or not Harriet gets what she needs. It's not just solving the case. That's important, of course. But she does that, can do that standing on her head. It's the other part. The part that happens when she goes home and takes that badge and that gun off, and there's nothing in her house but a couch and a chair and nothing in her refrigerator. That's sort of duality. That's sort of perfect on one end, imperfect on the other, is the sort of struggle that I sort of love to sort of get in there and dig about, because that's where it is. That's where the character is. And so I like doing that. Every book is a challenge for me to sort of put her in a position where maybe she learns a little something, maybe she doesn't, and that little sort of the confusion, because we're not perfect. Nobody is, no human is, and she can't be. And so I'm sort of working at that flawed and that frailty and all of that vulnerability, each book that I sort of set out to write.
So Tracy, you're saying that you didn't know where Harri was going to be in book 4 when you started book 1?
No, I had absolutely no idea. I just sort of put her somewhere. I put challenges in front of her, hurdles. There's conflict and tension. I pile it on as much as I can, and then I see what she does with it, and what I do with it. And so book 1, I had absolutely no idea who she was. I had sort of an inkling of her voice. I sort of heard her in my head. I put her on that sidewalk in front of that police station, and I had a kind of an idea of what she might do next. But until she sort of walked in there and met her new team and her new boss and her new partner, that's where it really sort of started to gel for me, because now she has to do something. She has to act. She has to sort of get in here with this group of people. And then and on top of that, I give her the weirdest, toughest case that I can possibly give her. So challenge upon challenge, conflict upon conflict, tension and tension and tension. And then she slowly sort of emerges out of this sort of rock that we sort of pick characters out of. The more we work with them and dig and dig and dig, the more concrete they become and more, human they become. So over the 4 books, she's a little better in 4. In fact, she's kind of a lot better than she was in book 1. And she might be better still if I come back to her again. So, like people, I mean, we don't change dramatically. We change as things happen to us. Sometimes we move positively. Sometimes we move negatively. I want all of that churn and all that confusion in the books as well.
Well, then how did she surprise you as she grew from book 1 to book 4, or she was creative from book 1 to book 4?
The way she sort of reacts to things, I guess. I'm just writing scenes, okay? I'm writing police procedural, so I'm kind of following what police officers would do. I mean, they don't sort of make stuff up on the fly. They have a procedure. The body is there, step 1, step 2, step 3, so I sort of follow it that way. And then whatever I put in her hurdle and in front of her as a hurdle or a obstacle, there, okay, that gives me something else to sort of write. Okay, well, how is she going to react to this? Depending on how that is, we go on to the next thing. And that sort of gives me sort of something to sort of hook on to, because again, I don't have an outline. I probably should. It's probably the smarter way to write. My brain just won't do it. So I have to put her in situations, put her in a room with that body, give her a adversary that she has to come up against, and then we see what she does, what she says, how she feels, what next steps she makes. How did she sort of deal with the people in her squad? I mean, she's just learning these people. She met them in Hyde, and she's slowly learning who they are in books 2 and 3 and 4. New partners, old partners, all of that confusion she has to deal with on top of the personal stuff that I've given her. So I just pile stuff on until she does something, until she tells me who she is.
Well, so you said you hear her, and yet, so you experience her personally, like you kind of have an idea. You hear her, you work with her, you all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I hear voices in my, characters in my head, because even when I'm not writing. So as I'm writing it, I can hear her voice as I'm putting her on the page. But I also hear her when I'm not writing. I could be driving my car somewhere, or in line at the grocery store, and there's something, a line will come in, or she will tell me something, or because I can sort of when I stop writing for my writing session each day, I'm still writing in my head. So I'm still thinking about what the story has to be, what the book is about, and what the characters have to go through. And as I'm going through my daily activities, she will say, I'm not unlike that, or I wouldn't do that, or something like that. I'm thinking about what I might do to her. And she said, nope. I hear the voice. So I sort of follow that. You have to sort of learn who your characters are. I don't write out like character sketches. I probably should again. But as I sort of build these characters brick by brick, they sort of reveal themselves to me. And I think they do for a lot of writers. You hear the voice, you sort of figure out who these people are. They tell you who they are by what you do in the scene or in the book that you put them in. They tell you. And so you have to sort of follow that. Every attempt I've sort of made is sort of directing her into another area. It doesn't work because she doesn't work that way. And so I have to sort of follow the voice, follow the character, put her in situations, see who she is. And that's how I sort of pick my way through each and every book, with the goal of having her be a little different at the end of the series or end of the book than she was at the beginning. You always want character change. They can't stay the same. They can't be static. They have to either learn something or not learn something. They have to either move forward or backward, but they have to move some kind of way. And so I don't know what those beats are, those points are. I just sort of feel them. I put the cases there, the bodies there. They have to do this and this and this. And then in that situation, this is what she might do. So it's a kind of a stressful way of writing, and I admit that I'm stressed. But that's my oh man, I'm stressed. I mean, because you don't know where you're going. I mean, until you get there, and then there it is. I've started writing a book, and I can be maybe halfway through, sort of picking my way, not really sure, and then you'll write something and say, oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. It took me a while, but there it is. And now I have to go back half a book and sort of make those adjustments. But I have to sort of just keep writing until the story evolves, the characters evolve, and then I know where it is, and then I can go back and make whatever correction I need to. But the book is there. We're good to go. Let's do it.
Well, today it's a good thing because you could be talking to yourself when you're walking, and nobody's going to think. They'll think you're just on the cell phone or something, earbuds.
Well, it could be, but I don't care. Let them think what they. I don't think what they
She's
want.
talking AI.
Yeah.
Hey, Tracy. So is that process of not knowing where you're going that also applies to the mystery itself, or do you have the mystery plotted out so you kind of know where to drop the hints?
I've got nothing plotted out, so I have, when I start with, well, let's see, like for Edge, all I knew is I had read a little thing in the newspaper about some drug or something on the street here in Chicago. And that got me thinking, okay, great, we've got that, but what happens if? Every story sort of starts with that question, what happens if? And so I was thinking about this drug and the death and in the newspaper, and I'm thinking, well, what happens if something is on the streets that is not only, addictive, but also deadly? And so that's how that started, just an inkling of an idea. And I started where did I start? I put her in on her day off. I mean, she's not even working. She's not even worked. She's off. It's a Sunday. She's taking a walk down the lakefront, and she finds two bodies in the skate park. And so that's where the story starts. It started with that scene. I saw Harriet in the park. I saw those bodies on the ground, and then we're off to the races. So now we have to sort of build the case. Where did the drug come from? Who's supplying it? And, I sort of give a fictitious reason or why the drug is out there. And, you build it. You build it like a Lego house or something, brick by brick. And so it started with the drug. Who supplied it? They supplied it. Where does it go? It goes here. And then Harriet has to sort of figure out, and her team, how it all sort of comes together. So I follow her, just hoping that the story will sort of work out. And I'm actually surprised, every time it does, because, it could go the other way.
I see all this, and you're very involved with your character, and it's very personal to you. So when you're writing the book and going through all these experiences and the emotions, as you're talking about stress and stuff, how does this change you when you write one of these novels?
It doesn't change me at all. I'm the writer. I'm not invested personally in this. This is not my story. I sort of follow Harriet. So, I can sort of write the most emotional scene ever or whatever, and then I can get up and go have a sandwich. It's not my story. It's her story. And so I sort of look at it from the outside looking in. I'm interested in it. I want it to be good. I want these characters to sort of have an arc that sort of resonates for readers. But it's not mine. It's not my story. And so I can just get up from my writing desk when my session is over, and I can keep thinking about the story because I need to think about it because I don't have an outline ready and waiting for me the next morning. But, I can sort of detach myself from the emotional part of it, or the conflict or the angst and all that sort of emotional stuff that I give Harriet to sort of go through. It's her thing, not mine. So I'm looking at it sort of as a craftsman. I'm building a house. And once my session for that house is over for the day, I go home and put my hammers away, and I come back the next morning and start again. But I'm not thinking about that, constantly in terms of, I'm in a sort of a depressed state because Harriet is, no, I'm the driver of the train listening to the voice. So I'm following her wherever she goes. Not my story. Just want to make it good for the readers and for me too.
That's interesting. So Tracy, it's a police procedural. She's a police officer, and there's police techniques. How do you put that in her head to show it her police officer mentality, and also just the factual nature of policing in the books, hunting down the answer?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not a cop. I've never been one. I come from a world of journalism, which is not the same. And so I know cops, and I have cops in my family. So when I started to write about Harriet as a police officer here in Chicago, I talked to cops, as many cops as I could talk to, people in my family and their friends and their friends. And slowly you sort of get a sort of rhythm of how they sort of interact with each other and sort of approach their jobs, how committed they are to them, the dangerous things they go through and the horrible things they see on a day-to-day basis. And I sort of absorbed that sort of, all of that. I mean, the stories that they tell, more importantly, what they don't talk about. If I get in sort of write myself into a corner, which I do many times, I can have the luxury of being able to sort of call somebody and say, what would you do in this situation? Is this right? Is this not right? I wrote a scene in one of the books where Harriet and her partner, Detective Vera Lee, kick in a door and go inside somebody's apartment, and apparently you can't do that. So I had to sort of rewrite that scene because I wanted it to be not only authentic or sort of seem authentic, but I didn't want them to do anything that they couldn't do in real life. So I'm always sort of making those checks. I'll write something I think is kind of, off the wall, and I will sort of check with one of them, and they'll say, nope, we've done that and probably more. And so, you're sort of on the right track. So I want to keep it so that it's realistic. I don't want to write, a treatise on policing in Chicago, but I want it to be engaging, but I also want it to be realistic and sort of that it could happen and that they're not doing something that they couldn't do in real life. And so then you also want to put in the traumas of the job itself. What happens to a person with that badge and that gun on them when they see something horrible? And how do they sort of deal with that and sort of get that in their head and then go home to families and children and wives and husbands? Okay, that interests me really about this series. What happens when the badge comes off? We know what happens when the badge is on. They're doing their job and they're getting paid for it. What happens when they take the badge off and the gun off and then they're just a person? And that's the part that interests me really, really much. I love that. I love that emotional part. I want to know what they are when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm thinking about those things when I'm writing Harriet. I want to know who she is deep down. I want to know what keeps her motivated to do a really terrible job that most of us would not take on a bet. And that's what keeps me interested about this character and these characters and this book and this series. What makes them doing it when nobody else probably would do it?
Now, Chicago, is that important to the story? Do you write it as a character in this book?
I think I do, because I have to. I mean, I think Harriet would be different if she were somewhere else, like Cleveland or, I don't know, Idaho. I mean, she's in Chicago. And Chicago has a certain vibe and a certain feel to it. And I think that sort of makes her who she is, because she's here. I don't think we could sort of take Spencer out of Boston or, anything like that, because he would be different in somewhere else. And I think that would be the same case with Harriet. She would be different if she were not here. We have a sort of a gritty town, a reputation for being sort of gritty and dark and, full of corruption and, politicians that go to jail and things like that. So crime here, but we also have the other part. We've got 77 neighborhoods, all different people living in them. Everybody lives, more or less peacefully. And I like to sort of give that flavor to the books as well. I mean, I move the books around all the time. This neighborhood, that neighborhood. Different things happen in different neighborhoods. Up north is different from south side. South side is different from the west side. And so I like that flavor. I like that sort of temperature up and down. And all of that sort of comes together in sort of a really interesting and rich stew. And when I start a book, it's not only just the case that you're putting down on the paper, but where it happens. And where it happens sort of determines how they sort of deal with it. And so it is a character. And I sort of take a lot of time to sort of make sure that I get it right too. Even though I've been here my entire life, there are things about it in Chicago that I don't know. I look stuff up. I take a ride. I get in my car and I look around, I'm walking around the Riverwalk and looking at things that might be interesting for readers to know. I do the same kind of deep dive work that I do with my human characters that I do for Chicago too.
Is there a meaning? I mean, I know you don't plan, so you're not sitting there outlining and this is what it's going to be. You sort of put your characters in places and let them go through experiences and stuff. But perhaps a subtext comes out of this story, maybe organically, just from the story itself?
Oh, it always does, yeah. I always find interesting levels that I didn't sort of imagine before because, I have to meet it when I meet it. But I will write something and then say, oh, wait a minute, that sort of pings on something. And then, there's another level that you can sort of explore. So, yeah, that happens all the time.
Hey, Tracy, is there things that you, as you're writing along, since you really don't have the plan, that you say, you get there and you say, no, that the readers won't like that. That's politically this, or it's just too violent that, or I'm just going to keep that out. I'm going to self-censor, perhaps. Do you come across those moments?
Not usually, because I'm writing the story. I might write something that doesn't fit. Now, if I'm writing a story and I've gotten to a point where I'm writing something that I think I should be going in that direction and it doesn't fit, and you can hear it, you can sort of feel it. I'll take something like that out, but I'm not sort of writing to be politically correct. I'm writing the city and cops as they might sort of be in real life. And if it's sort of rough or not politic enough for some people, I've gotten criticism like that. Oh, there's too much politics in the books. Well, I can't help that. I'm writing about African American cops, Asian cops in a city of 2 million, 3 million people, in a city that strange things happen. And so you've got to sort of put all of it in there. You can't sort of filter yourself because somebody might not like it. Somebody might not like it. And so nobody's going to like my books. Not everybody's going to like them. Okay? Some people like them. Some people don't. That's their choice. I've got no control over any of that. So I write the story. I write the characters. I do the best I can with both. And whatever comes out, comes out. If it's a little rough or a little, I've got some swear words in there. Some people don't like that, but I have never met one cop in the world who does not use swear words. I mean, there might be one. I don't know where he is or she is. But, cops are they have a language all their own. And so it's not really polite sometimes. And so for me not to write that because somebody might take offense on the tail end, it just doesn't seem right to me. But, I'm writing what I think needs to be there, and I'm doing the best I can with it. And I hope that the readers on the other end appreciate the story and the characters. And if, some people think it's a little too, political or whatever, then, there's awful lot of other writers out there that they could read. And, good luck with that.
Yeah, read Joe's book.
Yeah. You might hate something for 100%. Read my stuff.
I will recommend a couple for you. Just let me know.
Well, so now the evil characters, the bad, the one, selling the drugs and doing all that stuff. How do you work yourself up to do those characters? Where do you get your feeling for to do these people?
Well, I think that's probably, for me, the most fun. I like writing the bad guys better than I kind of like writing the good guys. I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe that's just how twisted writers are, but I just really enjoy it. A serial killer? Yep, sign me up. Drug dealers? Yep. Okay, I don't know if that's really how they sort of act or think or whatever, but it works for me. I'm looking for bad guys, and I sort of do the best I can with it and get as dark as I can get. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's kind of like actors who sort of like playing bad guys more than they like playing good guys because there's a lot more depth to them, right? You want to know why they're so bad. What possesses them to sort of do this as opposed to being sort of a upstanding citizen in the United States of America. I mean, there's just darkness here. Darkness is always good to sort of dig in and sort of look at and sort of explore and just trying to figure out what the heck makes somebody want to kill 6 people and stuff their bodies under things. I mean, that's a twisted person. I kind of like that. I like twisted. I like sort of delving into that and trying to figure out what that all is. I think that's all writers do, just trying to figure stuff out.
Well, if you're going to have darkness and you're exploring these things, and I ask this question sometimes, and you've said this word, you've said tell a story. How do you tell that story? What elements do you say, this makes this a story that people are going to read that I enjoy writing? What is a storyteller for you? I know it's esoteric. It's a crazy question sometimes, but we use those words, right? And we're telling a story.
Yeah, I think we're just people who want to figure things out, and we figure them out by telling them in stories, by building characters and creating characters who sort of struggle with the same things that we struggle with. I mean, we're all human beings. The world is a really complicated place. Things don't work the way we want them to work all the time. Terrible things happen to good people. There's a lot of stuff, and I think stories are just a way of writers sort of trying to figure out what that stuff is and what might have created it and what we might do to make it better. And so story for me is just sort of me trying to figure stuff out. I figure it out through this character. I put her in a vulnerable place, as most people are vulnerable. And I just sort of have her try to figure out stuff that I want to figure out. I make the stories, or try to make the stories sort of make sense in terms of whatever the case is. I mean, it's police procedural. She's got to have a case, but she's thinking about what the case is. She's not just doing it. How does that affect her? And how does that affect society? And how does that affect me as a writer and the questions that I'm asking and society is asking? So all of that messiness is what story is for me. I just sort of have an idea of what the story might be. This is it, tainted drug, blam, blam, blam. But then there are levels to what that things. So we have a mother who's dead. We've got, innocent meat packers dead. They didn't ask to be dead. I mean, they were living their lives, and this thing came into it. And it happens all this time in real life. You're living your life, you're out there doing it, and then something comes in and messes the whole thing up. And you have to make sense of it, or at least try to make sense of it. And so that's me, as I'm writing stories, trying to make sense of stuff that sometimes doesn't make sense at all. And that's all story is for me, case by case, character by character, scene by scene, just trying to figure it out and answer the questions of why. I think that's all a story is why.
I like that.
So now the book is out now, like it comes out today, December 2nd, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you going on to a book 5 now? Are you working on that, or do you take time off? What's next?
I'm working on my first standalone now. I have until the 19th of January to turn it in. It's going okay. I mean, it's sort of a different vibe and a different feel and a different sort of rhythm, standalones. The series, you sort of know your characters, you go in there, you've got your cast, bam, the case is new, but you know your people, bam, 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 we're good to go. Standalone, all new folks, all new voices. It's got a different rhythm. It's not a police procedural. It's sort of a suspense, a domestic suspense sort of a story. So it's got a different gallop to it. Maybe that's what I say. It moves differently. And so you have to sort of teach yourself how to sort of deal with that, because it took me a bit to sort of get in that sort of rhythm because I was into the other one. So, it's coming slowly. They'll have it by the 19th of January because deadline is a deadline. But yeah, it's called You'll Never Find Me. And I think it's going to be okay. Not great. I mean, maybe in revision, something will happen. But, you're a writer, you write, you do the best you can with each book you write, and you hope for the best.
Well, listen, so let's talk about where people find you, readers and fans. Do you have a website? Do you have social media? Where do you like readers to come find you?
Well, I've got my website, Tracy Clark Books. I'm also on Blue Sky and Facebook and Instagram. Just type my name in there, and my face will pop up. And if you've got a question, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer.
Well, there you have it. The book, Edge, Detective Harriet Foster, and it's book 4. And our guest is the author of the whole series in that book, Tracy Clark. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.